Good morning, boys and girls, and welcome to FlossTube number 10. My name's Christine. I am CMD586 on Instagram, if you're on Instagram. And it is, what day is it today? I almost said November. It's a good thing I wrote things down. December 18th. We are exactly 1 week away until Christmas. You know, I give up. I keep thinking that I want to be at my best when I film these videos, but you know, stuff just keeps happening, and some days it's like, you know, film it now or you won't do it for 2 more weeks, and you know, whatever, it's happening now. It's been 3 weeks since my last video. I meant to come back to you last week, but I couldn't have filmed if I wanted to. I couldn't talk. I actually got laryngitis, like really got laryngitis. I couldn't say a word. I couldn't talk at all for like 3 solid days. That was hard. And I still had to work, and I work in customer service, but I couldn't not work. It was just, you know, I had to just kind of work in a semi-limited capacity. There was lots of texting going on. It's, you know, fortunately my boss is you know, has a cell phone and is into texting, and so we did a lot of texting, and my husband and I did a lot of texting, and I whispered, even though you're not supposed to do that, because that's actually harder on your vocal cords when you have laryngitis, but it was the only thing that would come out. So when I absolutely had to, I whispered, and you know, but I had to. I couldn't take the actual time off. I just had to work in a limited capacity. I work in a local toy store and bookstore, and I am many things there. I am the special orders clerk, so it means like every time somebody orders something, the order goes through me, and I try to fulfill it. I'm also the toy buyer, so for the whole toy section of the store, I buy all the toys, and you know, it was getting close to Christmas, and I had to receive last minute things and get in last minute orders and things like that, and I just could not take the time off. Even though it would have been really lovely to like just not talk for 3 days and stitch and do nothing else. But couldn't happen. But I couldn't film a video. At least not without a lot of subtitles, so I didn't. So I'm back, and yeah, I thought everything was going to be fine, but I'm exhausted. You know, I have a 17-year-old, and he's a really good kid, but this morning there was an issue with him, and I did not get a lot of sleep. He's at school. He's a good kid. He's one of those kids who's going to be great on his own. He's very smart and determined, and you know, he's not destined to go to prison, and most of his friends are even, you know, we're even not worried about them. You know, I think he's gonna do well. I don't think he's gonna be a hard partier or do any crazy things that really get him into trouble. He's cautious by nature and that sort of thing. But he's an only child, and I think that we're a bit of a safety net for him, and so if he thinks he can get away with, you know, not doing what needs to be done, and you know, the parents will just take care of it for him, he will. And so we had a bit of a battle with him. I think you know, this morning I was just thinking, I know it's not true, but just this morning, just today, I've been thinking, man, the empty nest thing that we're going to experience hopefully in about 1.5 years does not sound bad at all right now. He wears me out. So I'm tired. So I have coffee, but at least thanks to Bendy Stitchy, my coffee was easier to make this morning. I make my coffee in a French press, and I have to warm up the water to do that first, and we have a wimpy microwave, and it takes like 10 minutes in the microwave, and plus, you know, while you're making your hot water in the microwave, while you're getting your hot water to almost boiling in the microwave, you can't use the microwave for other things, and so it's just, you know, everybody trying to get ready for school and work and stuff, it's just a pain in the ass. But sorry I said ass, but Bendy Stitchy, you know, I've bought several things that she has well, not told me to buy, but you know, enabled me to buy. And apparently this her influence extends well beyond the stitching world, because I bought myself, thanks to her, oh, let me take a sip of this, I gotta have it. I bought myself, thanks to her, a portable hot water, like countertop hot water tank thing. Zojiroshi makes it, and it was a company I have other products from. I have like a rice cooker of theirs. I have some, you know, canisters of theirs. But I'd never heard of this. And it sits on your countertop and you fill it with water. I think mine is like 4 liters. It's a lot. I don't want to say it's about 4 liters. I think that's what it is. But it holds quite a lot of water, and enough to fill my French press like 3 or 4 times, which is, you know, too much coffee. You fill it with water and you plug it in, and in like 20 to 25 minutes, it gets to near boiling. And then it keeps it really hot, and it has several different settings. Like I set it at like the highest setting that's appropriate for coffee, and then a little bit lower would be for tea and that sort of thing. And oh man, I love it already, because I struggle to find time to make coffee in the morning, and and you know, sometimes I make it like the night before and reheat it and stuff, but you know, I'm a little bit lazy, and so anyway, to make matters worse, the coffee shop in our mall where I work just closed, because half the stores are closing, and so, like, there's no place, like, if I just, I can't get around to making coffee in the morning. Once I get to work, if I don't have coffee, I'm screwed. So I have to have my coffee. I'm an addict, what can I say? I've tried quitting coffee a couple of times, and it just didn't work for me. I realized that I was, I'm kind of a moron when I don't have coffee. So I make a lot more mistakes, and you know, I thought I was going to be healthier by not drinking coffee, and I'm sure that there are things that would be healthier if I didn't drink a lot of coffee, but I actually seem to be healthier on coffee. So you know, and it has some good things about it. So I'm just gonna keep on drinking it as long as I can. Okay, let's get down to the stitching. Oh, okay, well, you know, let's talk, I would say normally let's talk about FlossTube, but this is not all FlossTube. I'm sure all of you already know that Martina Rosenberg passed away, you know, the chatelaine designer, which is just an enormous blow to all of us in the stitching world, and of course, you know, horrible for her family. It was, you know, I don't know anything. I'm not connected with family, as most of us aren't, but you know, I do know that it was unexpected, and that's rough. You know, I've known people who have lost loved ones, you know, when it was a complete surprise, and that's awful. I mean, it's always awful, you know. I guess we could argue about whether it's you know, worse to know or not to know, but it's, you know, I imagine losing somebody close to me suddenly and unexpectedly, which fortunately for me has not happened. Of course, at the age of 43, I have lost plenty of people, but I haven't lost anybody close to me, completely out of the blue, unexpectedly. But I know people who have. I have close friends who have lost people, children and parents and things like that. You know, anybody in their life that you can think of. We've all known people who've lost people suddenly, and it's just a kind of a unique kind of grief, I think, when the person that you had every reason to expect, you know, to spend decades more with is suddenly gone. It's just awful. And of course, selfishly for us in the cross-stitch community, we lost an amazing contributor to this craft. I mean, I only have one chatelaine project, and I don't know how many I will do in my lifetime. I like almost all of what she put out, and I'm not going to get in like a mad rush to go and buy up all the chatelaines out of fear that they will become unavailable or more difficult to kit up, etc. With her passing, you know, but I do know that her work is beautiful, and it's a major loss whether you do chatelaines or not. Has been a you know, unique contributor to our craft, and it's a major loss for all of us. Okay, so and then another shout out, Adele at Adele Cat Stitches. She hasn't been doing many floss tubes lately, but recently she posted on Instagram, and she has MS, and which is, you know, kind of it's a pretty difficult, uniquely difficult disease. And I know several people who either have MS or people close to them, like their husbands, etc., have MS, and it's really one of those often invisible, tough diseases, you know, where the people who have MS, you might not know that they have it, you know, in much of their daily life, you know, they function and work and etc. But it's got a lot of challenges and heartbreak with MS. Anyway, Adele is going through a little bit of rough time health wise. You know, but she is, you know, still like active on social media and stuff like that. So, you know, if you have a moment, if you want to visit Adele on YouTube, I'll try to put a link to her below, even if it's the only link I put. If you want to go, you know, say hi to her on YouTube, or if you're on Instagram, I think she's under there just on, like, you can find her on Adele Cat Stitches, on Instagram, and I know she's paying attention to people's comments and stuff like that. And I hope she's doing better, because it was, you know, a couple of weeks ago that I think it was a couple of weeks ago that she mentioned she was in the hospital, you know, with relapsing MS, and I don't know that she's able to stitch or anything like that yet, because since that one post she hasn't posted anything, but she is noticing comments, and so I just, you know, I think it would be nice if she's such a sweetheart. She is if you haven't watched her videos, you should watch some of her videos, because she is really just a sweet lady, and you know, she always makes a lot of people smile with her attitude and her videos and things like that, and I you know, be nice to be able to give her just a little something back sometimes when you're not doing well, you know, a nice little comment or something. You don't have to give somebody money or things necessarily to like brighten their day and make them just feel a little bit better when maybe they're going through a rough time. And so if you got a minute, you know, go find Adele Cat on either on YouTube or on Instagram. She's on Facebook and stuff too, and you know, say hi and tell her you're thinking about her. Okay, so on to more frivolous things. Stuff I got a fair amount of stuff since I last spoke with you. I'm just gonna go in no particular order. It's a thread organizer. I love these things. Thanks to Janny in Mexico, Janny Stitches, who, if you're not watching her, go watch her, who gifted me with a couple of thread organizers. And I've always liked them, but she really kind of kickstarted this whole like floss organizer thing. And there aren't enough of them out there. If anybody wants to start making some of these like they do needle minders, I will buy them, I promise. This is from a company in Russia called RTO, and I paid $10 for it, including shipping. And it holds, I want to say, I counted and I've forgotten. I want to say it holds like 28 flosses or something like that. So this one holds quite a bit. A lot of them only hold, you know, a dozen or 5 or 6 or whatever. I would really love to have one of these in every one of my projects. I won't, I'm sure. It's kind of impractical, but just because like matching, I get 1,000 of these. Unlike a needle minder, these are something that's kind of picky. Like I wouldn't want to put, do a project that only called for a handful of flosses on this. I'd want to do a project that called pretty close to the number that was allowed for on here. So, but gradually I'm gonna be buying these and adding them, incorporating them into my projects as I can, because they're just one of those things that makes you want to stitch more. Once you've got the threads all hanging on there, it's so beautiful, and you just want to, I anyway, just want to stitch that project more once those threads are all hanging on something like this. So I'm gonna be collecting these. I only have 3 now. I have this one and the 2 that Janny sent me. And I've got my eyes open for more. If anybody knows of any, go ahead and point me to them. I mean, I know RTO makes some, and I've seen 1 or 2 here and there on an Etsy site, like on Extrude Design, and I've seen a couple on the Primitive Hair Etsy shop, stuff like that, but there's not a whole lot of them. So if you know of any interesting source of these, or something else that they're called, like a search on eBay for them, and I've tried like Floss Organizer and Thread Keeper and all the different combinations, and I don't know if there's like a word I don't know that I'm not using that would bring up all of these easier, or maybe there just aren't that many out there. But when you search like Floss Organizer or Thread Keeper, things like that, you come up with a lot of plastic bins and bobbins and stuff like that. Not this. And I want all of these. You can have all the needle binders. I want all of these. But I posted on see, I feel like I got this from Russia. It's beautiful. Like, it's really a nice quality, and like it appears to be hand painted and everything, and it's gorgeous. I love it. And $10 from Russia, including shipping. I didn't pay shipping, it was free shipping, it was $10. And I posted on Instagram, and some lady in Russia is like, well, we only paid $2 for that here. I'm inserting a tone of voice that she may not have intended, and maybe that's not fair. But I was like, well, fully for you. I felt like it was a good deal, I'm a rich American, and $10 for something like this seems like I'm not a rich American. But that's how I felt like responding to that thing. Like, I thought it was a good deal, and you're telling me I should have only paid $2. But when you live in different places in the world, things cost different money, and imports, you expect to pay more for an import. And $2 in Russia, I don't know, what the difference is. My impression is that people in some of these countries making and selling their crafts probably locally can't make and sell them for as much maybe as they can get in foreign countries. And I don't know that there's anything wrong with it. Anyway, to me, this is well worth $10, and I don't feel bad about the fact that I spent $10 on it. I didn't really appreciate being basically told that I paid too much, but it's worth $10 to me. I will happily pay $10 for anything that looks like this. Thank you very much. Okay, let's see. What else did I get? Oh, again, oops, upside down. Thanks to Bendy Stitchy. I'm sure you all have seen these, the Michael Powell books. And there's a second Michael Powell book, and I tried to get that's like this, but it's not Christmas. I tried to get it too. I'm sure I could get it. But again, I work in a bookstore, and I like to order everything I can through the bookstore. Not just because I get a discount, of course, but also just because, I'm supporting my job. And so I got, I got like the last copy of this at the distributor, and they're sold out of the other one, and they show it on order. And So I'll get it from my bookstore if at all possible, when it becomes available again to order through the distributor. And if it doesn't, you know, ultimately I'll go on eBay or Amazon or something like that. But for now, I'm not in a hurry, so for now I'm gonna try to wait till it becomes available again. But I've never stitched to Michael Powell, but you know, he's pretty hot thing right now. And again, it's bendy stitchy. I've seen his designs and kits and things in magazines and stuff like that, and I was like, meh, you know. But then when you see people do them, she did that, I don't know what it was called. It was like, I don't know, it was the big Michael Powell design that Michelle Garrett did a little bit ago, that's like a flower garden something or other that she did on Amazing Fabric, and I cannot remember what it's called. But it gave me a new appreciation for just his designs in general. And these are little simple things, but most of these I'd be willing to stitch and like happy to put on my Christmas tree. And so thank you, Bendy Stitchy, for opening my eyes to a yet another new designer whose stuff I gotta have. But I hope to have one or two of his little mini Christmas stitches hanging on my I'm pointing because my Christmas tree's over there, hanging on my Christmas tree next Christmas, not this one. Okay, what else did I get? Okay, I got some fabric from eBay. This is Weigert, but I don't think it's hand dyed by Picture This Plus. It was one of those where it says hand dyed fabric is Weigert fabric, but it doesn't look to me like Picture This Plus, and it didn't come with a name. It just said hand dyed fabric, and I'm going to use this. This is ultimately the kind of thing I'd like to be able to make if I get more into dyeing myself. This is a gray and white, basically. It is Weigert fabric. It is 32 count Belfast. And I'm going to use this, which I believe my husband is getting me for Christmas, for Time Traveler. It's big enough, and I think it's going to be, and I think it's a really nice modeling color for Joan Elliott's Time Traveler, which is, you know, I've been talking about for a while, and at some point I'm going to start, but I have the fabric for it. So I'm very close to being able to start. Another thing I bought, it's just a little pattern. I'm not even going to show it to you, but I do want to alert you to Modern Folk Embroidery / Dark Crosses. There's two shops on Etsy, and Ingeborg at A Stitch Too Far drew my attention to them, and man, did I exercise a lot of admirable self-control. I don't always exercise self-control, but this one designer has two Etsy shops. One is called Modern Folk Embroidery, and one is called Dark Crosses. And Dark Crosses is like a lot of sort of semi-primitive style, Halloween-ish designs. And anyway, between his two shops, I wanted way too many things. I couldn't resist ordering something from him, so I did order, all I did order was a little, I forget what it's called, but it doesn't matter. I'm not even going to show you a picture of it. I will try to put a link down below, but if I don't, you can find him on in Etsy under Modern Folk Embroidery as one of the stores, and the other is Dark Crosses. He also has a website. If you Google Modern Folk Embroidery, you'll find him. He has a website, and he has like a email newsletter that he sends out, and if you like his stuff, you're gonna want to sign up for that, because he sends out freebies and things like that, and his website's really really good. He's got a couple of like articles on there, like instructional things, how to do some things that I found pretty interesting and helpful. So so check him out. Anyway, I ordered a very small square pattern from him for just a few dollars. And my excuse for doing it, he has several really big patterns that I would like, but right at the moment I'm able to resist giant patterns. Just right now. It won't last long. But right at the moment, I'm able to resist getting more giant patterns. So even though I like favorited a bunch of them, one of the things I really do want to do next year is I would like to make at least one Biscorno. I have a book about how to make a Biscorno, but I've never done it, and I really want to. So I downloaded one of his patterns. I bought one of his patterns that looked like it'd be perfect for a little Biscorno, and so that was my excuse, because my book that talks about Biscorno, I don't like any of the patterns in there. I've seen a ton of Biscorno patterns I do like, and I don't think I own any, so I went ahead and purchased that. And so I have that to do my Biscorno one of these days. Okay, and finally I got myself in trouble at Pamela Hoover McIntosh's Stitcher's Paradise. Okay, now I finally know. Last time when I've spoken about Stitcher's Paradise, I didn't really know. So there is a Stitcher's Paradise, evidently, that's a different Stitcher's Paradise that is still a brick and mortar somewhere, because people talk about going there. Can't remember where, but somewhere. The Stitcher's Paradise I'm talking about is a different Stitcher's Paradise. Pamela Hoover McIntosh runs a Facebook group for Stitcher's Paradise, and it was a cross-stitch store that she ran for quite a long time, and she had to shut it down sort of recently, so it is shut down. And meanwhile, she's selling off the stock on her Facebook group, and she's a real nice lady, and she's the one who I got my peacocks for my Just Nan Peacock Majesty sampler. I didn't get the right peacocks, but I got peacocks that will work, or at least one of them will. And every time I order something from her, and I've ordered a few times from her now, but every time I order something from her, she sends a little something extra, like a pattern or something. So anyway, I was just, happened upon her. She regularly puts up new designs, and I'm always on the lookout for Victoria's sampler, but in particular Victoria's sampler, the alphabet learning samplers with the embellishment packs. And I've been lucky to find some pretty good deals. If you pay full retail for these patterns, you usually pay, you usually end up paying $40, $50, $60 for the pattern and the embellishment pack. And I have been able to find several of the patterns with embellishment packs for about $20, and when I see them, I snatch them up. So I got another one. I have a couple of others, and I can't remember what they are. I'm pretty sure I don't have a duplicate here though, but if I do, there may be a giveaway in our future. But I think I have like B and D or something like that. Anyway, I've done F. And showed you that, several weeks ago when I finished it. This one is V is for Valentine, and it comes with all the threads you need for it. I mean, it won't. I don't think these come with. I don't think these come with the DMCs for what few DMCs are required, if anything. They might. I can't remember in my previous experience whether it was like you have to provide the DMC. I can't remember, which is obviously no problem. But it comes with all the silks, and it comes with all the beads, anything you need that's unusual, like pearls. And this particular one has silk pearl and Glorianas and Cranic Moris, which I don't enjoy, but I do use. NPIs, which are lovely, Au Soie, and beads, several different beads. So, and I love these. And also for Christmas, my husband is getting me the needed fabric. He's getting me half a yard of 28 count platinum, which is basically the called for fabric in a lot of the Victoria's sampler designs. And I would have got a whole yard of it because I would use it eventually, but at the time that I looked on 123, they only had half a yard listed, and I know you can contact her and blah blah blah. I've done all that, but I just needed to send a link to my husband, here, buy this, and not have any kind of rigmarole. And so for now, I just got a half a yard. I do, and I've said it before, I do when it's a fabric that I know I'm going to make use of, and I'm not worried that it's just going to be hanging around my house, never getting picked up. I go for the biggest cut, usually a yard, that I can get if I can afford it at the time. And so, and you know, sometimes I have to go, okay, right now I just don't want to spend the money, but it's just, it's more economical, and then you have extras laying around. But in any case, this time I have half a yard coming, because that was all that I could send a link to my husband to of something that showed in stock. So so I just got that. Now, when you order something from Pamela at Stitcher's Paradise, she always sends something extra, usually some sort of freebie like pattern or something. And usually I'm not, that's very nice of her, but usually I don't, you know, it's hit or miss when somebody sends you a free pattern, whether it's something that you're really going to get excited about or not. And also, though, at the time of I won this, I happened to, that same day when she was doing this 12 Days of Christmas thing where she posted on the group, and then on the first day, the first 12 people to respond to her post, if you got lucky enough to see it, she'd send you something. And then on the 11th day, it was the first 11, and the prizes sort of got bigger and bigger and bigger, but they got harder to win because you had to be the first, you know, 12 or 11, 10, 9, etc. people to respond to the post. But, you know, that was great. It was fun. And I managed to get in on the very first easiest day, and just because I happened to be hanging around and I happened to spot her post, and I just got lucky. And I didn't get lucky on any other day, but that was totally fine with me. So she sent me the usual, presumably free stuff that she always sends kind of with a pattern. And then she sent me something else too. So I'm not sure what I won and what, just, you know, she sent it. Because she sent me, gosh, so she sent me, I don't want to show you because it's, she sent me 2 free Victoria sampler patterns. They're little ones. One is a Christmas angel, that I might not do because I have done angels and I will do angels in the future, but generally angels are just not my thing unless there is something, you know, that really draws me to them. And I can only see the pattern, so I can't see, like, you know, it doesn't look spectacular because it's just the pattern. There's no picture. I have no idea what it even looks like. It calls for, like, this is a itty bitty free pattern that says Noel Christmas Angel 2006. I'm sure I could look it up. But it calls for like really expensive threads, like 9 different specialty flosses, which if I was gonna do it, I would do it with all those. I would buy them all and do it. So I don't know if I'd do it. Maybe I'll pass this on to somebody at some other point. And she did also give me another Victoria sampler. It's a Harvest Virtues free pillow ornament. Oh, this one was a free design, and I might actually do this again. I can't really tell how great it is because, and again, it calls for like a dozen expensive things. Gentle Arts and Kreinik and Access Soie. Never heard of that. I don't know what that is. Anyway, but that actually looks really pretty. It's apparently autumny. It looks like there's a pumpkin in the center. And it might be it might not make a good, Biscornu, because I think the center in this particular design, I don't think I'd want that center to be pushed in, but I'm definitely doing this one. And I don't know if I'll do this, but it's very tempting because she sent me everything for it. The fabric. And maybe this is what I won, but I don't know. Kreinik blending filament 002, and all the flosses, and beading needle, but a couple of some bumblebees and a butterfly and beautiful little pink beads. to go with, okay, good, it's got a picture. To go with this Lovely Are the Hours by Lori Birmingham Designs. And it's a pretty little design. I don't know that it's for, oh, okay. It's really bright. I don't know if you can see that at all. But there's like a wreath. It looks kind of springy maybe. It's pinks and greens. There's a wreath at the top with a butterfly that goes in the center. And it says, lovely are the hours spent in a garden of herbs. And I like the phrase on it. And then at the bottom it has a beehive and a and some bumblebees on it. And I like beehives. I hate bees in real life. Can't stand them. I'm the kind of person who, if a bee gets in my car when I'm driving, watch out, because I'm probably going to cause like a 6-car pileup or something, because I'm like, I can't function around bees. But it's completely irrational. But I love them in artwork, and I love them in stitching, and I love these little tiny bees in the beehive. The overall like look of the design, I'm not sure that it's for me, but I think I probably will do it. Like, I was contemplating doing a giveaway for it, but I think I probably will do it. And I've never done a Lori Birmingham. And, but it comes with all the stuff. It's ready to go. And I love that little beehive, and I love the little tiny bee charms are just darling. Let me see if I can get one out and show you. And the butterfly's nice too, but butterflies, you know, butterflies are like a dime a dozen. Oh my gosh, it's so tiny. So tiny and darling. I don't know if you can even see that. I'm trying to hold it by the little... So it comes with 2 of those bumblebees to be buzzing around the hive. Yeah, I'm talking myself into this right now. So I'm not giving away. I'm doing it. It's got, I wouldn't pick it, like if I was looking for a bumblebee pattern, etc. I wouldn't probably pick this exact one. But I got it for free, and it's got lots of little elements I really love. And so I think I'd really enjoy stitching it. And probably, maybe it'll be one of those things that I stitch up and I send to my mother, who is also terrified of bees, but I think she would still like it. So I come by my fear, honestly. I think I got it from my mother. There's a lot of things I like about it, and the overall design is not really my exact cup of tea, but there's too much I like about it, I think, to not do it. So I think I will do that. So that is all of what I got. That's a lot. Oh my gosh, we're 38 minutes in, and I haven't even talked about my whips, etc. Okay, so I totally gave in to my startitis this week. I didn't stitch on any old whips. I started 3 things. I finished one of them, a big one actually. I stitched, you know, for, I don't know, probably 12, I could check on Instagram, but I stitched, you know, for probably about 2 weeks, and I just finished it. I started it, and then I had to wait for some threads to get here, and I did something else for a couple of days, which I almost also thought I was going to finish. And then I went back to it, and I just went great guns on it and finished it up. So I started, first off, and finished. I've got too much fabric here. I need to cut it. But I'll be doing more projects on this fabric soon, so I'm not worried about it. I started and finished Snow White by the Primitive Hair. And all of the called for threads. So, man, that dress is in cinders. This is all... there's 3 DMCs, the DMC 310, and the deer, the brown of the deer is in 839. I think it's 839. It's a brown, it's a DMC. And then the white snowflakes and her white skin and the white snow and the white spots on the deer are all B5200, which personally I thought it was a crazy choice to have. I mean, I know she's Snow White, but that crazy, she's a little like ghostly or something looking. But, you know, that's one of the things I like about these, about the primitive hair. I had somebody, I posted about this, I posted all over the place when I finished this thing, but I had somebody on some group, and she didn't hurt my feelings. She might have, but she didn't. A comment, it looks really great, something like, it looks really great otherwise, but is there something wrong with her face? She just doesn't look right. She looks a little creepy. And yeah, that stark white skin is, there's something like a slightly off about it, a little creepy, but I love it. And, you know, the original fairy tale versions of these, that's obviously heavily influenced by Disney with the dress and the bird in her hand and the deer, you know. But the original storyteller versions, fairy tale versions of these stories are, you know, they're pretty grim and dark and no pun intended. And I think it's great that the primitive hares versions of them are a little bit eerie and creepy. And oh, here for reference is the other one I've done of hers, Red Riding Hood, one of my favorites ever. And yeah, again, I believe the skin on Red Riding Hood is done in B5200 as well, because it's pretty stark white. And now I just want to take the opportunity to say, this is all on the same fabric, 36 count ale, with all the called for threads. I did not use the called for fabric. I like a darker fabric for these because the fabric that the primitive hair Isabella, the primitive hair woman, uses, in my opinion, is a little bit too light. The snowflakes don't show up, and I like the snowflakes to really show up. So I like this fabric a lot for it. And I love the coverage of 2 strands over 36 count. And another thing I want to point out, might be of interest to you. Once upon a time, I belonged to the cult of Anchor Black, and I did this pattern in Anchor Black. Looks pretty darn good, right? Because I thought we all needed to use Anchor Black on everything, and in order to get good coverage. And in fact, I only stopped using the Anchor Black when I wanted a cone. I have that big cone of DMC 310, and I went hunting for a cone of Anchor Black, and I couldn't find one at a price I was willing to pay in the United States. I think elsewhere it's fine, but I keep bumping the table, sorry. But in the United States, it wasn't really easy to get a cone of Anchor Black at a decent price, and so I did a little experiment on some rather unforgiving, either 28 or 32 count. I think it was 32 count white fabric. I had a couple of motifs on a particular project that were like identical and gonna sit right next to each other, and they were both in black. And I had some skeins of Anchor Black, and I had some DMC 310, and I was in the midst of agonizing over paying too much money probably to get a cone of Anchor, or buying the $50 giant cone of 310. And so I put in these couple of little identical motifs right next to each other on white fabric in 2 strands. And yeah, it's white fabric, so it's 2 strands and 32 count. And so yeah, the coverage wasn't perfect for either of the motifs. I was okay with that. They were like wagon wheels or something. It's on my Instagram. It's from like a year and a half ago. You could scroll back, I'm sure, and find. Anyway, I posted it on Instagram, and I posted it on Stitch Mania, and I said, okay, one of these is Anchor Black and one of these is 310. And my plan was to frog out whichever one didn't look right to me or didn't look as good to me, and continue using the one that looked better to me, and then, make a decision about whether to invest in a difficult to come by cone of Anchor Black or not. And I posted, and yes, I could see a subtle difference, but not in coverage. And I I posted on Stitch Mania, I think, and I posted on Instagram, and I asked people, I said, can you tell which one is which one do you think is which one do you prefer, etc. And quite a few people thought they could tell the difference and had a strong opinion about which one was which. Most people, if they liked one or the other better, they thought that that was the Anchor Black. And at least half of those people were incorrect. Yes, there was a difference. You could tell the difference, but you couldn't tell the difference in coverage. And as for which was better or not, the opinions were just about even on people saying, oh, that's the DMC 310, and because it doesn't look as good. And half of those people were wrong, and vice versa. And so this is Anchor Black, and this is 310. Now, of course, this is a more forgiving fabric because it's 36 count. It's a darker fabric, and it's 2/2 on 36 count, which the coverage is really fantastic on, in my opinion. So much more forgiving than than like a different fabric. So, but I can't tell you how many times I've had people express to me, oh, I can totally tell you're using Anchor Black when I haven't been, because they look at what I'm doing, there's a whole bunch of black on, and they go, oh, that Anchor Black looks great. And it's not Anchor Black. I still have some skeins of Anchor Black, but now that I have my cone of 310, I can't stand to use anything but my cone of 310. I even have some skeins of 310 that are going to waste because I just love using my cone. But I did Gwen and Luna using DMC 310, and there's a lot of black on Gwen, and I had a lot of people ask me about whether or not I was using Anchor Black on that because the coverage looked so good. And I didn't. I used DMC 310. And so, in my opinion, I can tell the difference in these when I look very closely. I can see a difference. DMC 10 is shinier, and Anchor Black is more matte. And, you know, I don't know which I prefer in terms of look. Probably varies from project to project, which I prefer in terms of look. But the difference is extremely subtle. And I can't tell the difference in coverage, at least not on 36 count. And I'm even using a cone of 310 now, which I have heard lots of people say that they think that the cone of 310 is not as good as skeins of 310 because they don't think the coverage is as good on the cone as it is on the skeins. So, not to laugh at those people. I think but in my opinion, what is going on is damage. I think the cones are really protected. They don't get rubbed as they're, you know, in the bins and people are handling them and stuff like that. It gets on there. I'm sure it's probably the same stuff, just wound around a cone instead of individual skeins. But, you know, once you get going on the cone, other than the bare, like, outside of the cone, once you get into the cone further, it's a very protected thread. It's not getting rubbed, and it's not getting abraded and fraying, possibly, and stuff like that. And I did notice that when I used Anchor Black, because Red Riding Hood was the first project that I actually used Anchor Black on. It might be the only project that, other than the little experiment I did, might be the only project I used Anchor Black on. I can't remember, but I definitely had to use shorter strands because it was fraying a lot as I worked with it. And I don't have any experience with other Anchor flosses, so I don't know if others are just as bad. But I did have to use shorter strands, and I had to cut my thread quite a bit, and I wasted a lot of thread because it was fraying. And so, you know, everybody's entitled to their opinion, and if you think Anchor Black is the bomb, you know, you're not wrong. It's just, in my opinion, there's not enough noticeable difference in coverage. And if you live in the United States and DMC is easier to come by, and in particular, those cones of DMC 310 are such a bargain, I don't think you should agonize over really wanting to use Anchor Black exclusively because it's so much better, because it's just really don't think it is. I know that people have extremely strong feelings about this, and I'm not trying to negate that. It's just, you know, if you're kind of thinking, man, I don't really want to buy Anchor Black, I don't want to pay extra money for it, and, you know, stuff like that, you may not really have to. So that's just my opinion on that. Okay, so I started and I finished Snow White. Oh, and I want to show you a picture right now of this. See that? That is a picture of Beauty and the Beast by Primitive Hair. I believe it's brand newly released. I just discovered the Primitive Hair's model stitcher on shoot, I forget her name. Model stitcher on Instagram, Elizabeth, I think something. Anyway, sorry, in a future video I'll try to get her actual name for you. But anyway, I stumbled upon her on Instagram and the model stitcher for the Primitive Hair, and I saw a picture of Beauty and the Beast, and I went right over to the Primitive Hair's Etsy shop, and I didn't purchase it. I restrained myself because I think I'm going to do Cinderella first. But yeah, she needs to just keep on releasing these patterns, because if they all have that beautiful black heavy background and they're all a little on the sinister side, I want to stitch all of them, make them all, because I want to stitch all of them. She previously released like a Sleeping Beauty and a Rapunzel that I like, but they are not, they don't, and you can't even find them on her Etsy shop right now. And I am crossing my fingers that at some point she might, because I think she designed those before the Red Riding Hood. I don't know. I'm just surmising that she designed them before she got this idea about this beautiful black forested border that I think is amazing, and it's just so adds to the atmosphere of the designs. And anyway, her Rapunzel and her Sleeping Beauty ones don't have, they also have some sort of creepy elements, like the Rapunzel hair looks kind of like snaky, and it's dark, and you know, there's some elements that are a little bit more sinister that I appreciate in them, but they don't have that beautiful black border that makes these others go together in a series. And so yeah, the Beauty and the Beast, that's on the list, and I just hope she keeps making more of them, because there's a lot more possibilities in the fairy tale vein to put out more patterns that are that I can put all of them on I can put them all on 36 count ale and be really happy. Okay, so that was Snow White, a start and a finish. But I started Snow White and I only had the DMC, and I had to wait a few days for the Gast to come in from 1-2-3 Stitch. And so there was a couple of days where I've gotten a bulk of the black border in, but I got afraid to keep going on it without having some of Snow White in to guide my way, to make sure I didn't screw it up. And so I had to do something else. But I did want to tell you that the Gast threads in this are her lips and her apple, and the S and the W are Rose Garden, which is okay. It looks good on this pattern. It doesn't thrill me in general. But this cinders, this is her, the burgundy and purple, dark purples and stuff in her dress are cinders. And man, I love that. And then the gray variegated in some of the snowflakes, and the bird and her dress is Aged Pewter, also by Gast. And I love it. I love both of those dress colors. I just think they're gorgeous, and particularly that I'd like to stitch something like some sort of monochrome design or something. Maybe my my little modern folk embroidery Biscornu design I could stitch in that cinders. I have some extra. This looks to me like the Primitive Hair woman kind of always says you need 2 skeins of everything for most of her designs, and Some of them you really do. I used about a skein and a piece on the burgundy, and I used like close to 2 skeins on the aged pewter. I didn't use anywhere near 2 skeins, probably like maybe 3 skeins of black, although I'm doing it on a cone, so who knows now. But I used more than 2 skeins of anchor on this one. And so I've learned from her that she says 2 skeins, usually. I think that's what she says. I'm sorry if I'm misspeaking. But I know on Red Riding Hood, she said basically 2 skeins of everything. And I needed 3 skeins of anchor black, and I needed nowhere near a whole skein of the white. And I did need 2 skeins of the variegateds on this. And you need 2 skeins or close to it of the variegateds on the dress, if you're thinking about doing this. But basically, I get her patterns and I look at her patterns, and I use my own judgment. I look and I see, okay, how many has she using a lot of this symbol or not? And I use my own judgment so that I don't waste purchasing extra skeins when they would mind them. Although it's not, not that big of a deal if I have an extra skein of something beautiful in my stash, because it was not required. But if you're trying to save some money, you might want to know that. Okay. Then, while I was waiting for my guest to show up for that, I got out, this is a gift. I'm not stitching a gift. I might give it to my mom. But this was a gift, the pattern and the fabric and all the floss, from the lovely Carla Eldridge, who also gave me everything for Luna. But it's my first Lizzie Kate that I've ever actually done. And I will be planning to do a pass the stash on this when I'm done with it. I spent 2 days, 2 or 3 days. Sorry, my pain in the ass 17-year-old just texted me. He texted me what looks like an apology. I'm not going to pause and read, which is nice. It's nice that he's apologizing. But I'm not pausing this video to get into it with him again. So knowing him, it's half apology, half something else. But that distracted me. I'm going to keep going here because I'm almost at an hour. So this is Lizzie Kate's Promise Me, which everybody's familiar with. And my favorite thing about this actually is that it is a quote by Christopher Robin. I'm going to try to find a way to put in Christopher Robin at the bottom, because they don't provide that information on this quote. And to me, that adds a little bit of, it's a lovely quote, but I am a Christopher Robin. I am a Winnie the Pooh fan, and my mother is too. So I might give this to her if I can put Christopher Robin on there, if I can manage that. Anyway, but I am stitching this. It's on the called for fabric with the called for threads, but I'm a crazy person and I decided to do it. I think it's on 32 count. Yes, 32 count lamb's wool linen, which is a very enjoyable linen to work on. It's a little bit rough, but it's not so rough that it's ripping up the threads. It's good. I like it. I am doing it 1/1 on 32 count. With all the called for threads that were provided for me by Carla. And when I'm done with it, and now my husband is texting me. Don't you know I'm filming here? And he does actually know I'm filming, so he doesn't stop. But anyway, I don't know what the hell I was saying. Stop texting me, people. Carla Eldridge gave me this. Lovely Carla Eldridge. If I can make it say Christopher Robin at the bottom, I'm going to probably give it to my mother, because she's a fan of Winnie the Pooh too. She's a sentimental soul and she'd love it. I'm doing this 1/1 on 32 count because I wanted it really itty bitty, and everything in this design is whole stitches, and it gives me pleasure to save some of the beautiful threads for another project. So stop texting me. So 1/1 on 32 count. That's all you need to know. And it took me 2 to 3 days to do what I did here, and I am slightly over halfway finished. So another couple days and it'll be done. And when I do that, I will do a giveaway on this pattern. It was gifted to me, and I'd probably do a giveaway on it anyway, but it was gifted to me, and it would give me pleasure to pass it on to somebody else, just like it was passed on to me. Just the pattern, though, because I mean, if you do happen to win the giveaway and it, you know, and you want to do it 1/1 like I did, I'd probably send you the fabric too. But if you aren't going to do it 1/1, then the fabric is not enough. Is not going to be enough for you. But I'm going to keep the threads because I will use them. I will use them myself in other things. Some of them are really beautiful. But I will give away the pattern, and I might give away, you know, those other Lizzie Kate things that I got from Nell. I might give away those little things at the same time because I pretty well decided that I'm not going to do those. So that was my second start, and I got more than halfway through that. And my third start, because I couldn't wait. All of my stuff arrived for Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow, and I couldn't not. I just got the barest start in this. It was a busy weekend for me. I had other plans, other social plans, and I just didn't have the time to finish it. And also, when it arrived, when all the stuff arrived, I really literally only had about 3 hours work left to do on Snow White, and I had to, like, I had to finish Snow White before I wouldn't have felt good putting her down with just a few hours left of black border to do on her to start Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow. But I did start Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow late Saturday night, and I put in a little bit of time on it on Sunday. I'm doing this on 40 count ale, because ale is one of my favorites, as you all know by now. And because I felt like it was a little more interesting than the called for fabric, which I've never used and might be really, really beautiful, but in the pictures I'd seen, it just looked a little light and uninteresting to me. So I chose to do 40 count 1/2 in the NPIs on ale. Upside down. And unusually for me, I started this in the center because I don't usually do that. In this case, I chose to because I've kind of wished that I started my shores at Hawk Run Hollow, shores of Hawk Run Hollow in the center. Because on these, if you start in the center, it kind of gives you a guide. You can kind of you can offshoot the rest of the design, move around however you wish once you've got that bigger center piece in. So, not to mention it makes it easier to center it on your fabric and that sort of thing. But, so I did start it in the center this time. My plan is to get the center blocks done. They call it block 6 and 7, but it's one long block. Plan is to get the center block done, and then I get to choose where I go from there, whichever one strikes my fancy. So, and I got all the NPIs. I got it in. I wasn't going to start it on Christmas Day, but it turned out that I had enough money that I didn't have to make it a Christmas present. I had enough money in my, like, personal disposable income budget to get it all myself and do it all myself. Okay, so that is, gosh, this is getting to be a long video. But there's a couple other things I wanted to mention, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. I discovered a few things this week. I need to slow down on buying patterns, but I don't think I can. It's not about money. It's about, like, what do they call, Sable, you know, stash above and beyond life expectancy. And you know, I just can't do everything. I really, really can't. And yet, okay, so I discovered a few things this week that I want to share with you. In one of the cross stitch magazines, I can't remember which one, but it just came out. It might be the latest Just Cross Stitch. I don't know. I get them all digitally, so I can't remember which one it is. But the important thing is, I discovered a designer that was unfamiliar to me, named Vivian Powers. And I'm going to show you some pictures of some of her designs. I'm going to leave this up here for a minute because I want to show you possibly several of her designs. So, as you can see, she has a very recognizable style, and I like it. Okay. So, I didn't love the design that was in whatever magazine I saw, but the style really struck me, and I was like, oh, I wonder what else she has. So I went to her website, which is Vivsters, VIVSTERS.com. I might put it down below, I might not, but it's VIVSTERS.com, and you can see that her style is kind of like inspired by or appropriate for like the adult coloring craze that I think is kind of dying, but regardless, it's like that, only for cross stitching, and very none or limited back stitching and bold lines, and I really like a lot of her work. So I'm gonna probably get one or two of her designs because they hold a lot of appeal to me. So I only showed you a few there, I think, that that I most like, but go to her website if you like that style at all. She's got a lot of cats, lots of bold colors. She's reminiscent of a lot of other designers, but she is unique enough that that it really struck me. So, you know, when you go to like a Etsy shop or you discover a designer and you're like, I want all of this, and I can't, like, you can't, even if you can afford it, you can't stitch it all, right? You know, and so you don't buy anything because you can't decide. I get paralyzed, like I didn't buy Joan Elliott for a long time because there were too many of them I liked, and I just couldn't decide which one I wanted to do until the Time Traveler came out, and I was like, okay, that's the one. Well, there's an Etsy shop on, there's an Etsy shop. It's a lady in Italy, and it doesn't look like she does PDF patterns, but her name is Sarah Guermani. Sarah without an H, S-A-R-A, and the last name is G-U-E-R-M-A-N-I. And she's in Italy, and her designs are not cheap. They're in the $20 to $30 range. And she doesn't offer PDFs, so when I do break down an order, I'm gonna have to wait until I'm gonna have to wait for whatever it takes, you know, to get them from Italy. But I finally stumbled upon a design of hers where I was like, that's the one I've got to have. And since they're coming from Italy, I may order 2 or 3 designs at a time, but this is the one that I gotta have. Wicked Christmas. I mean, that is just all kinds of great. It's, I mean, you know, it's Christmas and it's Halloween all at the same time. And I don't have an abnormal love for Christmas, but I do have kind of an abnormal love for Halloween. I mean, I celebrate Halloween all year. It's almost Christmas here, and here I am starting Halloween to Grand Hollow. But a Christmas design that's full of Halloween witches is just awesome. So I gotta get that one. That one is great, and I'll probably get a couple of other designs of hers at the same time just to make it worth the wait from Italy. Oh, speaking of wait, it hasn't arrived yet. It probably will arrive any day now. Trisha at 3 Owl Threads she got such a high demand for her soda stitch patterns that even though she said it was going to be like months before she ordered again, she got a whole bunch in again, and a lot. And I think some of them are still available on her Facebook group, and she's going to put the overflow on her Etsy shop. But anyway, I got a couple of her soda stitch patterns coming to me a lot sooner than I expected I would. I also went ahead and signed up for her thread of the month. I don't remember if I told you that, but I signed up for her thread of the month thing. But that's not that's not oh my god, stop texting me. There are some words in my head right now that I will not share with you. He knows better. He knows I'm filming. Why is he texting me? I film on my phone. Stop it. Anyway, he's just excited about something and he can't help himself. So, all right, finally, I blame my husband for the length of this video. Finally, the latest hands-on design collaboration between Kathy Haberman and Priscilla of, you know, Priscilla and Chelsea, the Real Housewives of Cross Stitch or FlossTube, or what do they call themselves? They're wonderful. You all know them. Yeah, you don't need me to tell you. You probably don't even need me to tell you about this. Here's a picture. 2 pictures of what I gotta have. Anyway, that's the newest. It's available for pre-order at Down Sunshine Lane. Go watch Priscilla and Chelsea's latest video. I'm not gonna get this right away. I probably won't get in on the pre-order, get a special deal thing. Just because I have too many things, and if I pay a few dollars more for it, that's okay. I don't need to get it now. But man, oh man, I love that. There's a lot of Kathy Haberman designs I love, but that one I think is really kind of exceptional. That one really strikes my fancy, and so at some point I'll give in and get that one. Anyway, thank y'all for joining me. It's gonna be the new year before you see another video from me. It might not be 2 weeks from now. Is New Year's Day. Normally I'd film, but 2 things. My husband and son are going to be home probably, and even if they left me, maybe if they left me I could do a video, but apparently I'm evidently going to be working that day, which is very strange, but it sounds like we're maybe going to be doing inventory that day at my work, which is fine. I didn't have to agree to it, and I did, and I'm fine with it. But anyway, I don't know. It's maybe going to be another 3, unless I find a miscellaneous spot in here. I will have another day off that week, so I might do a video on like the 3rd or the 4th or something. But it's going to be 2.5 to 3 weeks probably before you see me again. I will be kind of trying to do like with either my next or my next 2 videos, I'm going to try to do kind of like a recap / accounting of where I'm at in cross stitch, because it's the new year. I definitely want to do a video. Oh, that Snow White was my 18th finish for the year. It's possible I could even squeak in a 19th finish before the end of the year, depending on what I work on. Obviously not Halloween at Hawkwind Hollow, but probably the Lizzie Kate if I decided to go back to it. And I have several other little things that I could do. I could get a 19th finish in, but I have 18 finishes this year, so I'll want to do in my next video or 2, I might divide them up. I'll want to do like a finish parade where I show all of my finishes for 2018. Some of them might not be in my possession. I can't think of. I've given a couple of things away, and I don't know if they were things I finished in 2017, not 2018 or 2016. So I want to do kind of a parade of finishes. And then I also want to do a whip parade, which I have not done yet, but I want to do a whip parade at some point. So we'll see if I split up those videos. And anyway, thanks for joining me, and go visit me on Instagram. I post a few times a week, so if you're on Instagram, go visit me there. And if hope to see you in 2.5 to 3 weeks. And now I'm going to check all these various and sundry texts and see why the hell my child and my husband can't stop bugging me. Anyway, I'll talk to you all later. Bye.